Doing this one on request. I don't use filters in my system anymore because all my systems, including my indoor breeding setup, uh, use grow beds for aquaponics. But anyway, a guy on Urban Farming Guys forums had asked a question about a sand and gravel filter he had made for his tank, and water wouldn't go through it. If you took the sand and gravel out, water would pump through it. Well, the reason for that is that small submersible pumps, say 300 gallons or less, or even some of the slightly larger ones, don't have much pressure behind them. It's very easy to block or stop the flow. And even though water percolates through sand fairly rapidly, it's still not fast enough, and it will shut a pump down, one of those pumps down completely. It just won't do it. A diaphragm pump would work, or a much higher pressure, higher volume pump would go through the sand. At any rate, this is the easiest way I know of to build a hang on the back filter. I was using this one on a 90-gallon aquarium with two 20-gallon aquariums linked to it at the time. Now I've got a little bit more to that system, but so at the time this was working on for 130 gallons and keeping it clean. Basically, you just need a container. This particular one is Rubbermaid, but Sterilite and a couple other manufacturers make decent ones. This one is like for breakfast cereal or whatever. It's about 4 inches deep, 11 inches or so tall, 10 inches or 9 or 10 inches wide. This shape works pretty good. Basically, with my system, where my aquarium was, this would fit between the wall and the aquarium, and I had a little block that I'd put behind it to keep it held tight up to the aquarium. So basically, you want to drill 3 holes in it. A hole in the top for whatever type of adapter you want to use to supply water to it. Now, this hole doesn't really have to be watertight. You can just run a tube in that will go through and down. I did it the way I did it, so that when I put my pipe inside, I can put my lid on, align the hole when I've got media in there, and then screw down the lid, screw down this part. And if I want to take it apart to change the media out, it's really easy to do. I don't have to pull all the media and everything up at one time with the lid. So, but at any rate, so you need a hole in the top for your inlet. Now, for a hang on back, you want at least 2 outlets. That gives you something to actually hang the filter by. Those 2 outlets would rest on the lip of your tank and hold the filter at that height. I use 1-inch electrical adapters, male and female, with the number 18 O-ring. I put the male in from the outside so that O-ring seals against the outside. That way there's no leakage out here outside my tank. Okay. The way the whole entire thing is put together is once you have those 3 holes drilled, make you up a T that is the height of your container. So it goes all the way to the bottom. Insert a couple of stubs of pipe into that T, in the base of your T, to extend out across the bottom of your container. Drill a bunch of holes in it. The thing is, a lot of people just run a single pipe down to the bottom with nothing else there. What happens is the water goes down to the bottom, and any solids and debris clog up whatever media is immediately next to the end of that pipe, and then the water finds a way through, which is normally just right against the pipe coming up and out. None of your other media does any good. The water just doesn't get to it to flow through it. Same thing if you ran these pipes out and had no holes drilled. By drilling all the holes, you allow the water to come out from different areas, so if one area starts to get clogged up with solids, the water just starts coming out somewhere else, so you get better usage out of the media that you have in it. So basically, set up like that, put that in. Then the first media you want is something coarse to remove larger solids before it gets to your finer media. Normally I use their blue air conditioner filters that are washable and reusable. They work perfect. They're nice and coarse. They're good for bacteria to grow on in a biological filter. Easy to cut to size. In this case, somebody had given me a gift certificate to a pet supply store, so I went and got actual filter media, mesh media, white one side, blue on the other. So basically I just punch a hole in the center of it, drop it down. Okay. Now when I was close to the end of the roll, when I got to this part, I had a couple extra little scraps, so I just cut them to put one on either side of the pipe down in there, and that basically just gives bacteria more room to grow on. That's it. Then for your actual main filtration of your smaller particles, I'm not going to show the brand, but polyester fiber fill for filling pillows, stuffed toys and animals and stuff like that. It's hyperallergenic. All it is 100% polyester fiber. They sell this stuff in pet stores. It's the exact same stuff, but it costs you about 8 to 10 times as much for a much smaller bag. This large bag lasted me for about 6 months, and it's still over half full. Basically, you just want to pull a chunk out of the bag, kind of fluff it a little bit, because you want the water to be able to flow through it freely, and for this just to snag the small solids and stuff, basically polish the water and clean it out. Basically, just stuff it down in. Don't compress it overly much. You don't need it to be compressed. You want the water to be able to flow through it. So basically you just kind of push it down in, get it around your pipe evenly, and stuff it down in. And you just want to get it up to a level a couple inches below your outflows. Then I always take another piece of the same mesh I used on the bottom and put in right at the top. But I'd like to put it up there. It helps restrain that upper media. And here is where you would add, I couldn't find mine, I haven't used it in so long, but here's where you would add a mesh media bag with charcoal in it. You don't need biofilter media. It's redundant. You've already got plenty of mesh. This is the biofilter media. You don't need a bag of biofilter, K1 or whatever that stuff is, or balls or anything else. This is all you need. This and charcoal. So take your bag of charcoal. I had a large bag that I could put enough charcoal in to get it a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch deep and mold it around the tube so water flowed through and over the charcoal. So once you get your charcoal in, take some type of plastic, cut it to fit inside your container and over your pipe, and put it in over your charcoal. Now what that does is holds everything down, keeps everything from just coming up. And because if this stuff actually makes it up to your outflows, it can clog them up. It'll become compacted in there. You don't want that to happen. Then I should have 2 of these, there are 2 holes, but 1 for each hole. Your male adapter with your number 18 O-ring and a short piece of PVC. If you just put the male adapter in, water tends to drip and splatter around. You don't really have any control over it. And if you put a short piece of pipe on, you can heat it with a heat gun and bend the end down to form a spout. What that spout does is if for some reason it leans back a little bit when you hang it on the aquarium, water will still drip into the aquarium rather than just going over the lip of the pipe, running back down to the outside. But that's why I put the spout on there. Then you just take your female adapter, screw it over this. I must have scavenged the other one for parts or something. Used it elsewhere. I don't know where it was. It wasn't on here. Just like that. And matter of fact, I scavenged this one from another part because it's got a reducer in it. Okay, then once you get to this point, simply put your lid on. These are 1/2 inch electrical fittings. I used an O-ring on the inside too, but like I said, this one doesn't really need to be watertight. And a short piece of PVC, an elbow with threaded on one side, slip on the other, with a threaded in barb fitting for the size tubing that I use for my submersible pumps. Then basically you just take that, hang it over the back of your aquarium, hook your submersible pump up to it, drop the pump in the tank, and plug it in. Water will fill, flow out, and dump back into your aquarium. It works very good. It did amazingly when I first put it up. I wish I could have found the link to the video that gave me the idea to make one. I would have just posted that, but I couldn't find it, so that's why I had to make this one. But there you go. It's nice, simple, easy to make. It's pretty cheap. You can get a big bag of this fiber fill for about $4. But like I said, this bag I think was $3 and change. The filter media, the mesh, I don't think it was very expensive. I think for about $6 you can get enough to do 5 or 6 of these filters. And then the rest is just PVC fittings, maybe a couple dollars worth of PVC fittings, and that was it. But there you go.